Okay, so kind of a funny story. I've just done this commentary 3 times, that's right, 3 times, and it turns out that my microphone was turned off, and I didn't realise this, thought my headset was broken, had a paddy, got really mad. It's not broken, I'm a moron, and the pressure of this hardcore playthrough that I did has made me mute my mic and not know it was muted, so there you go. Anyhow, people, Sarah from 17 once again, and I'm going to be doing a discussion now about the hardcore difficulty on Dead Space 2. So if you're not interested in anything that's to do with Dead Space, feel free to go to a different video, turn off. But if you are interested and you know what I'm talking about, you should enjoy this. So sit down, and let's get ready for it. This is, obviously, Dead Space 2. And if you're wondering why I'm posting a game that's this old, well, if you look back on my older content, I actually posted a guide for this game on Zealot difficulty. And if you've not seen that and you like what you see here and you want a bit more Dead Space 2, feel free to check it out. Just be warned, it is an older iteration of myself. It's before I had the confidence and the flair when it came to commentating that I do have now. And I also have an inferior mic, so it sounds a little funky, and I do sound a bit like a paedophile at times because I'm not quite there yet. But it is a fun little experiment to go back and listen if you want to. It is there for you, so check that shit out. But I didn't want to do a hardcore playthrough on this game because the whole concept of what it is pissed me off. And if you don't know what the concept is, the hardcore difficulty is the game set on its second hardest difficulty, which is survivalist, and it has its loot system set to the hardest difficulty, which is zealot. And all this means is that the enemies will do less damage to you than the hardest difficulty, you'll do less damage to them, and the loot and the items that you will find and you'll scavenge for will be a lot less than they would be if it was on survivalist. So it's a culmination of both difficulties. And it's an interesting concept that does work. The only problem with it is they've took all the checkpoints out of the game. And that to me is inexcusable because that's not something that I enjoy at all. I'm not the guy that has the perfect runs on games, that does things without dying. I'm the person that can do anything if I get killed enough and get the determination to overcome it, because I learn it, I learn my lessons, and I get better that way. I don't die and want to be fucking punished by not having to do 2 hours of the game again. It's not how I enjoy things. So this to me is a massive barrier of entry. And the first thing I would say, if you're wanting to do this challenge, if you're wanting to get that achievement or that trophy, is you've got to be familiar with the game. You cannot be coming in after a year of not playing rusty like I did, or you're going to get punished for it. And you need to have played it a few times, because I look back at that guide I made and I was confident when I was playing. I knew where shit was. I was bossing it, and I'm not that same player because it's been too long. I'm too rusty, and I blame a lot of the shit that happened to me based on that, although a lot of it is luck and random variables. But I started my playthrough anyhow, started it, and went into gamer mode, into the zone, played all the way up to chapter 4, and I decided to use a save point. And my reason for this is, on hardcore mode, for some insane reason, you can't skip the cutscenes. And this infuriates me in any game, let alone a game that I have to play the entire fucking thing again if I die. And if you died on a sequence and you've had a bad save point, you've got to keep watching the same cutscene or the same bit of banter every time a character talks, every time there's a little flashback or Nicole turns up and she's got a fucking, jack-o'-lantern face on, any of that garbage, you can't skip it. You've got to watch it, and it makes the game longer than it needs to be, especially if that's your 4th time going through that section, and the section afterwards is a hard bit that you might die on and have to watch it again. So it is an awful, awful experience for them to do that. And I saved at chapter 4 because I didn't want to see any of that early shit again. I felt comfortable in saving there, and it's not too bad of a save point. The rest of the saves I made, I do regret severely, because one thing I'm going to say about this is not a hard thing to do, people. Hardcore itself, the game, is not that challenging. It's literally, if you know what you're doing, it's pretty simple. The reason there is challenge to this entire thing is the way your body reacts under pressure, the way you respond to the tension of not being able to save, of not being able to just, restart a section. And the penalty for dying is the steepest it is in any game. It's steeper than anything, really. And I don't handle that too well. I get nervous. I get really fucking nervous. I shake. I get anxious. I feel stressed. I get chest pains. I'm all over the board, mate. It's hilarious. And this has been probably the most stressful thing I've done in a while, because I don't respond well to those kind of parameters. That's not how I am. I go all sorts of places, and it makes you play worse. It really does, and it made it harder. But I got to chapter 4, I'd not died, and I started to carry on playing, and I got all the way to the disc swap on chapter 7. I'd still not died, and then I made a mistake. I got to the top of the tripod tower, which I thought was going to be challenging, but it was easy, because, it's just... That was one of the worst parts of the game, but for some reason I was ready for it, and I kicked ass. But at the top of the tower, I ran into one of the cysts, not knowing what was there, not paying attention enough, and it insta-killed me. And I was like, really? I'm going to die this early? I got really pissed off with myself. And the thing with it is, if you die on this difficulty, I think you curse yourself. I think you make yourself more liable to die again. I think it puts it kind of like a flaw in your system, because I died a whole bunch of times after this, and it's all because of that of this area of the game, really. And what will happen is the save point that you get is only a checkpoint. It is not an official save point at the disc swap. So if you turn the game off or you don't agree to reload, you'll be back at chapter 4. And I started playing back through. I got into the next section towards the end of chapter 7, where you move through the room with a parakeet in it, and you have to use the guy's body to get through the grids, and the tripwires turn up, and you do all that section. And there's one area where you go onto a lift. The lift takes you up, and you see a necromorph coming for you, and then at the top, you wait for him, and he comes through the vent. Well, for whatever reason, I was distracted, I was talking to my buddy, whatever I was doing, he caught me off guard, and he rushed me. And he got in my face, and I shot him with my plasma cutter, and it didn't stun him. And he three-pieced me and killed me. And I kind of choked. I kept shooting him, it didn't do a thing, he just kept on slashing me, and I died. I was pressing heal, I had about 10 mid-packs on me, and it really pissed me off. So instead of pressing yes to continue and going back from the chapter 7 checkpoint, I pressed no. And it put me back to chapter 4. So I turned the game off and I'm like, fuck this, I'm not doing it today, I'll do it tomorrow. So the next day came, I sat down with it, I got all the way back up to chapter 7, and I made my first mistake. Because there is a fight in chapter 7, which is the Brute Room. When you come back through that CEC Brute Room and you have to fight all the Necromorphs, I was not confident in my ability to beat that room. So I saved at the end of chapter 7, my second save, and I implore you people that are wanting to try this, do not save there. It is a bad place to save, because it led to the most frustration I had during my run. Because I did the room no problem, and I got all the way up to the end of the Ishimura, and I ended up dying in a really, really cheeky spot. You know the area where you have to pull the power source out of the wall, and it shuts off that electricity, and there's all the whiptails, those black fucking little flying bastards that attack you with the tail? I cleaned that room out completely, I moved the battery, I killed all the necromorphs that turned up, and I didn't realise there was another whiptail that spawns. And you know when the camera gets so close to Isaac, all you can see is the back of his fucking head? Well, it did that to me. And I got hit. I even recoiled backwards, but I couldn't hear anything, and I couldn't see anything, more importantly. And it two-pieced me. It hit me twice, and it killed me. And I had a whole bunch of healings. I didn't even see it. I didn't even know it was there. So I was super pissed off. And I had to play it all over again. And what happened is, because of that happening, I ended up hitting kind of a wall. And there's a section on, I think it's chapter 9, where you're moving through the blast furnace area. And there's one room where you go in. There's a decontamination field to your left. You go into the room, a black slasher spawns to your right, and one of those arm-exploding wankers that one-hit kill you turns up as well. And I died in that room about 3 or 4 times by getting sucked out of the window, by the cyst guy still coming at me, even though I stasised him and things. And just, I kept making mistakes, and I died there 3 or 4 times, and it meant that I had to play through that section of the game, doing all the obstacles, dodging the spikes, killing all that shit, far too much. So when I finally got back to the Ishimura, and I beat it, and I got on solid ground at chapter 11, I saved there. And I was kind of comfortable in saving there once I'd been there, because I know the end of the game and I knew I could beat it, but it's still 2 hours without mistakes, which can be pretty rough on you. So what I did was I got my save point, I'm going to stop playing now and I'm going to take it up tomorrow. But I kind of thought, maybe if I play now, I'll know what's coming tomorrow and I won't be pissed off if I die. And surprise, surprise, I managed to get all the way up to, I think, the end of chapter 13 before I died. And it was in the rotating laser room, where I completely forgot how you were supposed to do it. I tried to stasis the lasers, and then when I tried to run, I did not remember how precise the timing has to be, and the laser killed me instantly. And I wasn't pissed off, because I'd managed to get far enough, and I died by something bullshit. I didn't die by the combat. I did all the drill rig, all that kind of stuff, all the elevators, all those tough sections, did them fine, because I'm comfortable with them, and I know how to fight them. And it gave me the confidence to beat it. So I left it for the night, turned it back on this morning, played through it, and lo and behold, I I got through it, but there were so many times, like, as soon as I got up to the area where I was going for Nicole and I'd just done all the regenerator, I was shaking. I had this nervous feeling in my stomach that had just built to a full-on, like, ridiculous weight on my chest. My hands started getting pins and needly. It was ridiculous. And then when I did the boss fight and I killed her and she's super easy and I had no trouble, I was terrified that I was going to fuck up that last flying section, because you can actually die if you hit the debris. And then when I finally did the flying section, I couldn't even relax, because I was thinking maybe the power was going to go out and it was going to fuck up. Maybe I was going to get another "disk is unreadable" message, because I ended up doing 2 hours from chapter 7 up to chapter 10, and I got a "disk is unreadable," which killed me so bad. And like, I was thinking of everything that could physically happen. Maybe there'd be a freak power outage or an act of God that was going to screw me, and it finally popped and I could relax. And it was just like, Jesus Christ, it was so gay. And I'll say it right now, people, it is not hard, it's just bullshit. I would have preferred Zealot with no shops and every enemy kills you in one hit to that, because that is my piece of cake. I would do that any day over that shit. Did not enjoy it. My final stats, anyhow, people. I died 6 times, I got 1 unreadable disc, and it took me 6 hours and 39 minutes to get the end of it, so there you go. But there's some Metal Gear Solid footage that's going to be coming. I'm going to be doing guides to Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, so look forward to those, and I'll speak to you guys later, so you take care now.